I grew up going to church almost every day. I also went to the mosque on some Fridays, but there was one thing I didn't have until I was 16, a personal relationship with Jesus. So welcome to the first episode of Confection Bucks with Funke Akman. Yeah. So let me tell you about my salvation journey. So before I tell you about my salvation journey, which happened on September 9, 2008, I can never forget. That was a new birthday for me, September 9. Okay, so growing up, where I was born into a bi-religion family, which is my dad was a Muslim and my dad a Christian. Okay, my dad is gentle, so rest in perfect peace. So on some Fridays we go to mosque, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday we go to church. I remember vividly on one particular day when my siblings and I went to the mosque for the first time in a long while. So girls, they have a section, the women section, we have female section, male section. So we've not been to the mosque in a long while, so and then we have to do ablution. So we're waiting for others. Once we see somebody carries the kettle, also carries ours. Once they put water, we do. Once they start washing their hands, we look at, okay, this way they're washing their hands. So it was a very funny experience of that day. And then also we went there. Normally the scarf that most of them, we went there with parents on our head to tell you how funny it was on that. So that's the story. So and also we also went to Muslim Quranic school. Yes, remember my Alif Bada Sa da da da. Okay. So back to my salvation story. We grew up. I was born in RCCG. I remember my mom telling me that she went for legal service, and then she was just being up. Let this child be born during the convention, so that she will be among those that will be counted. And that you usually come and say, hey, today we have five new children, 5 children were born today, blah blah blah. But I came a month before the convention, so it's still a good one. I share the same one with you anyway. So yeah, my salvation story. I didn't give my life to Christ until 16 years of age. Even though I've been going to church, I was a choir, I was in the children choir, and that reminds me while we were growing up. I remember my zone headquarters. They usually have children. We usually have children Bible competition. So my siblings and I, if I'm the first, my sisters, we have my three sisters second, third. If my big sister is the first, I will either be the second or the third. So and so the thing is that the first three positions on Bible studies, on Bible competition, were always shared amongst the three of us. So to tell you how my upbringing was like, so the Bible we were open. We were introduced to the Bible very early. Okay, although there is always your parent can take you go to church all the time, but that doesn't guarantee you giving your life to Christ. So I gave my life to Christ not until I was about 16 years old. So it's not about going to church. I experienced many things as a teenager without Christ. Okay, but something is always clear. I know that God loves me so much because there are some incidents that happened to me as a teenager. If not for God, I know that I won't be here today. I would have fallen, because I remember having a dream as a teenager where I fell into something. I remember even a friend telling me that forget the dream that you fell so deep into something. I don't know what that is. If it was not God's grace, maybe I would have fallen and into something that I would never recover from as a teenager. So God's hands has always been on me, and it's still on me. So as a teenager, it's not enough to go to church, you follow your parents to church. The most important thing is, do you have a salvation story? Do you have a salvation experience? I gave my life to Christ September 9. It was the first September in that particular year. Okay, so and I do not regret that day. I do not regret that action of surrendering my life to Christ. Religion introduced me to God, but relationship with God transformed my life. So Before then, I was living a borrowed life. I stopped what my parents prayed and made a decision to follow Christ, and that has been the best decision ever aside marrying my husband. That is, did you inherit your faith or you made a personal decision to follow Jesus Christ? If this story encouraged you, challenged you, or reminded you that God is still writing your story, shared with a teenager who needs it. This right here is confession box, where every confession points you to God's grace. I'll see you in the next confession.